Welcome to the Woodpreneur Podcast, the best podcast for the business and marketing side of the sawmill, lumber, and wood industry. What's a woodpreneur? If you have a business where you make money as a woodworker, sawmill owner, selling slabs, or a content creator, then you're a woodpreneur. My name's Steve Larziliere, and I started Woodpreneur Life, Acres of Timber, and the Woodpreneur Podcast just for makers, wood entrepreneurs, and small business owners just like you. We're on a mission to empower thousands of wood businesses to grow sustainably and put out great products. Each week, I interview makers, sawyers, content creators, and 6- and 7-figure entrepreneurs that know the wood industry inside and out. With topics covering everything from the urban lumber movement, sustainable sourcing and design, we'll discuss the ins and outs of how to grow, monetize, and fully immerse yourself in the woodpreneur lifestyle. If you're a hobbyist, a full-time wood business owner, part-time entrepreneur who wants to become a content creator, or quit your day job to pursue your dreams, the Woodpreneur Podcast is just for you. Thanks so much for listening. Now enjoy this episode.
Hi, welcome to a brand new era of the Woodpreneur Podcast. I'm your new host, Jennifer Alger, longtime advocate of urban wood utilization and small sawmill businesses. Now, you might be asking, where's Steve? Well, don't worry. Steve is working on a brand new podcast series that focuses on architects, designers, and builders. But right here at the Woodpreneur Podcast, we are doubling down on what I know well: sawmills, the woodworking community, and the business of lumber. We're going to be diving deep into the industry, bringing on guests who truly get it. People like you who are shaping the future of the wood industry. So get ready for real talk, expert insights, and stories that fuel your passion. Now, today's guest I have with me, Brendan. Brendan, tell me a little bit about your business, Logs to Lumber. Tell the audience what you do and a little bit about your history with Logs to Lumber.
Hey, Jennifer. Thanks. Great to be with you guys again. So I got in this totally 100% by accident. I was a geospatial intelligence analyst in the Army and as a government contractor for 28 years, and got my first wood miser in 2017 because I owned 50 acres in Shenandoah County, Virginia, and I couldn't get this old guy to come and mill my logs that we cleared. I call him the legend. He's wore out 3 wood misers.
Oh, yeah.
That's Doug Halver. Oh yeah, he's got a Super 40 wide or Super 40 standard command control that has over 18,000 on it. It's 05.
Wow.
So he's 74, but I couldn't get him to come and mill my logs. So I was an Intel analyst, so I did the research, and I ended up going with a wood miser, an LT35 manual. I got it from Marty Parsons.
So then you've upgraded.
Yeah, well, it only lasted 1 log, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, yeah, my son and I milled 1 log, and I'm like, I want the hydraulic mill. So we got the 35 hydraulic, and I would pull it in out of my pole barn and mill some logs and put it back in there. And then someone at work said, hey, I got like 5 or 6 logs that I had a couple trees taken out. Can you come mill them? I'm like, okay, I can do that. So went over there, milled those logs, and I was like, people pay me to learn how to mill. So I started advertising on Facebook Marketplace, and to be 100% honest, I grew up in farming in Minnesota, joined the Army at 19. I never took wood shop. I never did any of that. I couldn't, 8 years ago, I couldn't tell you the difference between a white oak and a walnut.
Oh.
I couldn't tell you anything about curly, figure, quarter sawing, rift sawing, FAS, none of that stuff.
Okay.
So I had the LT35 hydraulic for about 12 months, and I did a 3-day job walking behind the sawdust chute all day for 3 days. And I was like, this is 2018, March, people wanted live edge slabs as wide as you could go. And I was like, well, I'm milling 2 to 3 weekends a month right now. I got 72 hours on this LT35 hydraulic. I know what I want now. I wanted a Super 40 wide with command control because I didn't want to walk behind the sawdust chute all day. So I thought, well, I can get the most for my trade-in at 72 hours. So let's just go ahead and pull the trigger. Well, that was a $45,000 investment. from 24,000. And then I bought a 1-ton dually Chevy truck that was $60,000 investment, but I had a 3/4 ton truck straight in. Then I bought a deck over trailer, spent $110,000 in 2 months with no guarantee on return, but that was kind of the game changer.
Yeah.
And then I met a woodworker, so I'm an Army guy. He's an Air Force guy.
Thank you
And
for
he's
your
like,
service,
hey,
by the way.
oh well, I'm not one of those guys. I don't have any tattoos. I don't have any stickers on my truck.
Yeah.
I'm scared of heights, and I was a paratrooper and I jumped for 7 years.
You still did it. And we thank you.
So I kind of overcome, things that scare me, like being a small business owner. So,
The scary ones for sure.
oh yeah. But my woodworking buddy wanted a kiln, and I had the 50 acres. So we built one, and then I started kiln drying live edge slabs and selling them. And then we built the second one. And since I think March 22 is when I did the first podcast with Steve.
Yeah.
I've kind of changed a little bit. I mean, we were starting to build log cabins, but we can get into that with your lead. When you're a small business owner, you have to go with the market.
You have to be ready to pivot, be flexible. Yeah.
But I mean, they say sawdust is man glitter, and when you get in your blood, it's over, right? Oh yeah, or sawdust is people glitter.
Yes, there you go. No, I'm good.
I think you need to make a new T-shirt.
I know it should. You should. Yeah. So, wow, that's interesting. So you have a slogan on your social media sites. I'll let you say the actual slogan, but it's don't make firewood, turn them into logs. What's the slogan, and where did that come from?
So the first time I talked to Steve, I mean, I used to post on Wood Miser Owners, and I'm an admin on the Wood Miser Owners, but I'm not on the official. And I used to do multiple jobs a weekend. And so I did three jobs in one weekend, and Steve reached out to me and we talked on the phone, and he's like, you really need a brand, and you really need to be on Instagram and, that kind of stuff. And so I reached out to a graphic designer who created my logo, and then I'm like, what's something catchy? And now I have 2 logos, but I'm like, log to lumber, turn your logs into lumber, not firewood. Because so many people, they just look at, and I was that guy too before I got my first sawmill.
Yeah.
I mean, I would look at, nice red oak and white oak and be like, oh, that's a lot of good firewood. But I mean, it's really more valuable as lumber. And as you know, every time you put your hands on that piece of wood, whether it's milling it, well, I don't know how loggers make a living. I really don't, because their stuff is not cheap.
Yeah.
But every time you put your hands on a piece of wood, whether you're milling it, you're drying it, you're running it through a planer molder, you're flattening a slab, you create more value.
You do.
So,
yeah. All that value add. I noticed you have an edger as well. Have you noticed a shift from the live edge slabs over to more dimensional lumber, or what's your story there? When did you shift?
well, I got the EG200 because it was available. The wait times were like, I don't know, 74 weeks or something.
Oh my gosh.
Marty had it. It's got the 24-horse Yanmar engine.
Okay.
And I think it had 1,000 hours, and it was like 21.5. And I bought like 30,000 board foot of red oak fence board logs.
Uh-huh.
The logger thought he was going to become rich and buy this mighty mite mill, which looks like something that came out of Frankenstein's laboratory.
Yeah.
And it broke down on him, and he had to get rid of these logs. So I bought these logs at 50 cents a board foot, and I said, we're going to mill them there. So I know how slow it is to use my Super LT40 to edge.
Yeah, you edge right over the mill, but it's not quick and easy.
Yeah. So I bought the edger, and we did about 12,000 fence boards, and I sold them all right there. Right. And we used the edger. And then I needed a write-off too, so that was another reason to buy the edger. Yep. And then I add the edger to my business model. So if we have multiple days where we have to go, like I've just booked a portable sawmill job the other day for a repeat customer, and we're doing board and batten for his barn. And he said he had 60 logs. I said, well, that's 2 days of milling. So we'll bring the edger on the second day. He's like, well, why wouldn't you bring the edger on the first day? And I get $500 a day when I bring the edger. Yep. And we train them how to use the edger. And every customer that I brought the edger, they're like, oh yeah, that thing really speeds up production and increases your yield.
Absolutely.
And because I don't want to waste my customer's money. Yeah, I could bring it both days, but the first day we're not going to use it that much. So all the edge boards we'll just put in a wet stack in a pile, and the second day you'll run through 100, 4/4 inch boards, and if you have 2 or 3 good guys, as you know, in half an hour, and you're done.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, that thing is worth its weight in gold. I'm like, yeah.
And then your edger
So,
or your edger, they're not just standing there waiting for you to get them aboard, because there's only so many.
yeah, especially
So,
when you're gang ripping,
right.
and I do a lot of that because I do a lot of fence boards or a lot of barn siding, and I'm not milling for grade, so I don't have to keep turning the cant.
Yeah.
I can just get to a 6-inch or an 8-inch or a 10-inch wide cant and just set the pattern on the AccuSet 2
Right.
and just let it rock and roll.
Yeah.
And that's where I get bored as a sawyer. It's like playing
Creativity
on our,
right?
yes, it's like playing the first level of Pac-Man on the Atari 2600, which a lot of people won't understand. You played it so many times you could do it in your sleep.
Right. Or and
It's just
about
yeah, but I mean, I've learned so much that you don't get taught. Like when you have that live edge on the right hand side and you're cutting down to get your cant, because you go down to auto 8 or auto 6 and then you go auto 1 up. And a lot of people that don't have an AccuSet 2 and a wood miser won't understand this, but a lot of people will.
Yeah.
And then you're watching the one side that you're cutting down. What you need to realize, and you do realize as you become a better sawyer, is you might have to flip it 180 degrees, because when you flip that up and you have that live edge at the top, if you keep going, you might waste a board.
Yeah.
Because you'll have an angle on your top part. So when I'm teaching my foremen, or I've actually taught people, I've met up at Wood Miser, or they reached out to me on social media and said, hey, I just bought a Wood Miser. I noticed you've done this for a long time. Can I come down and work with you for free? I'm like, well, bring your sawmill. I got stuff for you to mill. And the last guy that did, I met him up at Wood Miser, PA in November when I brought some blades to resharp. And he just bought a standard 40 wide with command control. And he brought it down, and he was walking and milling some fence boards for me. And I was running my, remote control Super 40. And I let him run that. And he's like, he had 9 hours. He goes, I think I want to upgrade. I said, well, let's pack your sawmill.
When it's 30.
Yeah, he had 13 hours on his mill. He's like, yeah, I don't want to walk behind that sawdust chute all day. And in your mill is so much faster. I'm like, yeah, because I have 2 motors and 2 hydraulic pumps. And so he's like, he brought his mill to Marty. He put in for a Super 40 wide command control. And then he went to a timber frame class in Maine.
Oh.
And so he's like, yeah, and he really liked it. And we've actually talked a little bit about, well, he lives about an hour and 20 minutes north of me. Like, what do you think? He sold his HVAC company. He was tired of it.
Is this how you get into your cabins that you started building?
No,
Nope.
I did that totally by accident too. But
All right, I'll do it.
and he's like, well, I only need to make 60 or 70,000 a year. I'm like, well, you really like timber framing, right? I'm like, why don't you start building timber frame gazebos? And then you got a big area up there where I don't think there's many timber framers. Why don't you add additions to houses, to entranceways that are timber frame, or timber frame awnings over windows, like to spruce up these older houses?
Yeah.
I mean, there's money in that.
Yeah.
So you said something about my cabins.
Yes. I want to.
So
what's the story?
And as I said to Steve in March of 2022, when I decided to get out of the government and do this full time, I thought the more revenue streams I can have, in a business, the better. Because portable sawmilling slows down in July and December, typically in Virginia, because people are going on vacation. And then no one likes to sawmill outside when it's cold and wintry and
Right.
yucky. So I thought, well, okay, I'm kiln drying stuff and selling it, providing for sale. And I'm still selling some like furniture grade lumber, like Corson, oak, and some maple and cherry, but I'm not chasing maple, cherry, walnut logs anymore.
Okay.
Whatever I have, I'll keep a little bit. But then a customer came, and I've told this story so many times, and he buys a couple $100, maybe 3 or 5 times a year of wood to make projects. And he said, yeah, I got in trouble with my wife. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm tight or not. What should I do? And I'm like, what'd you do? And he said, I turned our 2-car attached garage into a wood shop, and she couldn't park her car in the garage. So she said, I need my own wood shop. And he said, I don't like the Lowe's or Home Depot or Amish sheds. I love Barnwood Builders, and I really like my own little man cave / wood shop. And I thought, okay, so I'm going to research. So I started researching it. And we have a lot of those, like the white pine D-shaped logs that are tongue and grooved in their cabin kits out here. But I wanted to, and I love Barnwood Builders too. Shout out to Mark Bow and those boys. But I like the chinking, and I like nice, neat lines. So I didn't see any company that was doing like 6x8 cants with dovetail joints that have like 1 or 2 inches of uniform chinking. So I bought a set of plans online from a guy out in Montana. I think it's logcabiндovetail.jig.com. And I got the PDF. It was $25. I got the PDF, and I'm like, he wants you to snap a chalk line on your cant and then screw it to the cant and then cut it with a chainsaw. I'm like, well, we're going to do 6x8s, and I have AccuSet too, so they're going to be 6x8. Why can't we build a 6x8 jig that slides on, and we got little screws that tighten it, and then we put polyplastic runners on a chainsaw bar and cut it? So I took the plans. I was still in the government. I'm an old Army guy, so I need my coffee. So I
need my coffee.
Well, you're 3 hours behind us here too. So, but I gave the plans to my Air Force buddy, and he's like, well, and he's the woodworker, and working with a woodworker, that's where I became a better sawyer. Because woodworkers, as you know, they look at a log way differently than a farmer that wants fence boards.
Yeah.
Or dimensional log.
And they look at the finished product differently too. And
that's
to use.
That's one thing that amazes me is the people that come and buy from me, and then the pictures they post on my Google profile with the 5-star reviews, or they text me pictures, and I'm like, holy crap, I just don't see it. But what I could see in a log is a cabin. So I get that part. So I gave him the plans, and he's like, well, what do you want me to do with this? I said, I want you to build a better jig. He's like, well, why me? I'm like, I'm Army. We'll just throw more infantry and artillery at it, and that ain't going to fix it.
Yeah.
You're an Air Force guy, and any of you guys listen to this that have been in the military, you'll get this. Air Force guys, they think about it. They create a PowerPoint presentation. They have a meeting about it. Then they go to the golf course, and then they go to the NCO club and drink, and then they still hire a contractor to build the thing. He's like, well, yeah, you're right. So he built the first set, and there's math involved in this.
Yeah.
And he's a woodworker, so he's used to building jigs. So I said, we need a right side and a left side. And he's like, well, we want to go with a half bevel with the dovetail bottom because we want the water to go away from the inside of the cabin. We don't want a true dovetail. And then we need a flattening jig because we have to, once we get that cant, loggers don't cut the end of logs perfectly flat. So we need to flatten one end, measure, draw a line, and then put our flattening jig on the other side and measure and cut it. And then we put our left and right jig on, and we cut our bevel always first on top. Then we lightly flip it over so the jig doesn't move. I mean, we have plenty of screws to keep it in place. And then we cut our dovetail, and then we move on to the next one. But
so have you ever
the first one
tried to patent your jig? Is there anything else out there on the market like that?
I didn't create the dovetail joint. Yeah. So, I mean, I look at it that way. Yeah. I mean, we've sold a couple set of our jigs. I mean, our jigs are probably patentable the way we built them.
That's what I meant was this. Yeah.
I look at it like people are like, I don't like the people that want freebies. like our solar kilns. Hey, do you guys have plans for them? We use the Virginia Tech model. We just made ours better and bigger.
Okay.
You know, and then our jigs, I'm like, we don't have plans. We sell them, you know, and some people are like, well, God dang, that price point's pretty high. I'm like, you're buying time, buddy. You're buying 2 years of our time and we spent to perfect these. And otherwise you can come visit me. You can take all the measurements of our jigs. You can take pictures and you can go build your own if you want.
Figure it out. Yeah.
But there's no guarantee that you'll get the same angle right. And there's little things that people don't know because we built 10 cabins with our jigs. So we went down that path. It kind of took us 2 years because the first set of jigs he brought, the gap was 2 inches. And I'm like, Bill, he's like, yeah, I might have done the math wrong. I'm like, you might have. So we finally got it. And then a customer in Colorado wanted an 8x8 set. So we had to build those. Then I had to demo them to make sure that it was an inch.
Right.
And it was. And then we freighted, he paid the FedEx freight. And he was going to do Ponderosa pine cabin out there.
Yeah.
Because they got a lot of beetle kill out there.
Yeah, for the West.
We've sold 5 or 6 sets, and we sell them for $1,500 and our flattening jig doubles as a lap joint jig, so you can make a longer camp.
Yeah.
Because as you know, from the LT15 to the LT70, you don't mill. I know Wood-Mizer says 21 feet 2 inches, but I'll say BS. I'll say 20 and a half feet. Yeah. And I know some guys use their roller boards and they'll push a camp through, but I'm not doing that. And I think I could put a 6-foot extension on my Super 40 with the cat track, but
you can.
Yeah, I'm not. We could just make it a lap joint. So when I design cabins or customer design cabins, I ask for lots of doors and windows so we can have shorter breaks. And then that way your logs go for farther. So this year we have on contract right now a 16 by 16 that's going right here in Woodstock, Virginia.
Okay.
And unfortunately, we contracted a 16 by 20, and then we were going to have it graded, stamped, because the customer wanted it, no power, no water, no septic, just a concrete pad, doors and windows that he was going to provide, and we were going to have a covered porch on it. It was a $55,000 project, so he was retired, 70 years old. He could have 3 to 4 meals with his family and a big table.
Okay.
Unfortunately, he passed away. And I kind of heard that he did. And I said, well, I'm going to wait. I'm going to let his wife call me. She called me the next Monday. And before I could even say anything, she's like, Brendan, we still want to move forward with the project because Doug always wanted this. And
that gives me chills.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm so glad that.
Well, it'll give you chills that the son was asked if they could put some of his ashes in the chinking in the concrete.
Did you?
So we're going to.
Oh. Okay.
So it became more personal for me.
Yeah.
So I said, and he was supposed to buy the doors and windows, and he just had a cold, went to bed one night and didn't wake up.
Oh, geez.
So unfortunately, that's a good way to go. We met with the family, and I had an engineer to come over, and I'm actually going down the path I think I'm going to become a engineer grader. So a Southern Pine Institute provides a course,
right,
where they train you, and then you can get your graded stamp. The only thing is they charge $500 a month in dues. But if I can grade off on some lumber and a couple of my cabin kits,
right,
that's worth it.
So
we had a meeting.
Cool. I don't know. Pause there for a second. I don't know. I haven't done it yet, but I've heard, because we're kind of talking about doing some like a grading cooperative, and there's some very specific laws out here with it. But we were kind of thinking, boy, if several of us kind of went together, and there was a grader at one location, and we all kind of split those dues. So just some different ideas that we've been thinking of here. So you can continue. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought, well, and I also want to go to the North America Hardwood Lumber Association and become certified. It's a 8-week course out in Memphis. I mean, it just makes me a better sawyer.
Yeah.
And who are you going to pick? Are you going to pick someone who has these extra accreditations, or are you going to pick someone who doesn't?
Right. And
So
even if they don't even if your clients don't necessarily know exactly what that accreditation is, they feel more confident in it, I've found. So there's some value there. And then you're more confident in offering different things that maybe, maybe you didn't know, or maybe you did know and now you just need the certification, but it just builds confidence on both ends. I think it's a good platform. What is the split in your business? Because you have several different aspects of your business. Is there like percent is custom sewing, or what are the splits in the different things that you do?
up until December of last year, I would say we probably had 65% of the business was portable sawmilling.
Okay.
And then little over 2 years, I got a mini excavator, and I've always had 2 cat skid loaders. And in that portable sawmilling, I've learned to offer different grades of service. Like the bottom tier is I come with my Super LT40 wide, and I pull up on your site and I set up, and you provide a piece of equipment and labor, and I'm the sawyer.
Okay.
And so that's the first level. A lot of people, they don't have a tractor with forks or a skid loader.
Right.
So, okay, well, I can bring a skid loader with forks, and it comes with the operator, who's also my foreman, and he also helps on the sawmill. And then I'm like, well, you need 1 or 2 more other people. Well, I don't know anyone. Okay, well, we can come and do everything. You don't have to touch a single thing. You tell us what you want milled, where you want it stacked and stickered, where you want the slab wood, and if you provide a wheelbarrow, we'll even scoop up the sawdust and wheel it into the edge of the woods for you. And more people are like, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
All they got to do is write a bigger check or swipe their credit card for a bigger amount.
Yeah.
Because I hate to say that people are lazy, but they don't know what they don't know. And 9 times out of 10, myself and my 2 helpers, oh yeah,
Good for you.
like one guy was a probation officer, and he worked from home, and we spent a day and a half of bucking poplar logs, and then we spent 3 days milling them and stacking them, stickering them for a couple horse run-in sheds. And he would come out at the end of the day and look and like, wow, that looks really good. And he wrote a big fat check at the end of 5 days.
That's what we're talking about.
I was happy.
Good.
And he got his value.
Uh-huh.
So I typically tell people, like, if I just come and sawmill for you, you're looking, and it's your logs, you provide the equipment, you provide the labor, you're going to get your material for 50 cents a board foot or less. And the best example was January 2019 over in Buchanan, West Virginia. I milled a tractor trailer load of white oak and a tractor trailer load of hemlock for barn siding.
Okay.
And they had owned like an 86 40 LT40 with they paid it off in 6 months milling railroad ties.
Oh,
back
wow.
in the day.
Yep.
So they understood the process. They had 2 green treat 6x6s in front of the loader arms and would load logs, and they had 6 kids there. And in 25 hours and 2 days, we milled 11,000 board feet, and it was stacked and stickered.
Nice.
When I gave them the bill, it came to 11 cents a board foot. But I don't know what they paid for the tractor trailer load of logs. So they had to buy the logs.
Right.
But I mean,
Speaking of logs, where do you get your logs from? What is
so I have a couple loggers, and the biggest thing for building cabins was finding independent loggers who are willing to cut them to the length that I want. So if I want a 16-foot interior wall, the biggest interior wall I could do is 18 because I can mill 20 and a half feet. We have a 6x6 or 6x8. So 6 times 2 is 12. And then we have 2 inches of overlap on the end of our cants. And so 2 times 2 is 4. So we have to have a 17-foot 4 cant to get a 16-foot interior wall.
Okay.
When I sell my kits and I say, hey, this kit is 16 by 30, that means interior wall is 16 by 30. So on this cabin in Woodstock, because we would have had to pull permits and everything, and it was kind of stressing the family out, we ended up going 16 by 15, 11. That brought it under 256 square feet, which qualifies as a shed.
Got it.
So only a zoning only a zoning permit because Doug unfortunately is gone, but they still wanted it.
Yeah.
And then I said, well, did you get the doors and windows? And they said, no. And I could see she was still stressed about that. I said, well, my woodworker's willing to build old timey, single and double sash windows with that actually open.
Yeah.
And I will supply the pine for it. And I'm telling you, I'm going to pay for the front door. I'm going to cover the front door.
That's awesome.
And he was a part, and they're going to have working shutters, but it's also in Woodstock, my hometown. So when people see it from the road, they're going to be like, oh my God, I want to take a look at that.
You got it, as well as being altruistic and kind to this family. That's great. That's great.
Well, and so he was a part-time blacksmith. And I said, what would be really cool? If you reached out to one of his blacksmith buddies and they made you an old-timey little sliding latch.
And the pool.
And she's like, yeah, that is a good idea.
Yeah.
And I just got
forward to seeing the toast or the meal or the breaking of bread, whatever they're going to do in this. Hopefully they share photos with you or video. I would love to see that on social media.
Well, because we'll be helping putting up. And she's like, would it be okay for grandkids to put their hands on the concrete? I'm like, it's your concrete. Do whatever you want.
That's awesome.
So
it's really making
and we're going to be helping. But this year teamed up with a timber frame builder who just moved from New Hampshire, and he's going to help us do the roof and the covered porch. And so we're going to learn a little bit more. I don't want to be a builder because that takes me 1 degree away from my core business, which is that sawmill.
Right.
But the more things that we can do, the better my business is.
Yeah.
And then we signed a contract for a 35 by 35 cabin with a loft.
Okay.
In Petersburg, West Virginia. Luckily, we don't have to build it. He has his own crew, and he had it designed, and he gave me the cut list for everything. And all we have to do is mill the 6x8s, and they cut everything on the cut list, and have the sawmill there, and have our jigs there, our flattening jigs. And when his crew asks for a piece, they'll give us the measurement. We cut it down, and we hand it to them, and they'll put it up. And his dad has built 30 cabins over the years, so
oh wow,
I'm sure we'll have a foreman on site.
Yeah.
And it's going to be on top of a mountain, which has a beautiful view. They're actually doing all the grading right now. And then we just signed a contract for a 62 by 60 gambrel barn. That's all post beam. That'll be all rough saw.
What is your marketing strategy right now?
So I have a website. I'm on Facebook. Facebook doesn't. It's www.logtolumberva.com.
Logtolumberva.com. Okay.
Yep. And then it's log to lumber, not two. And a lot of people say, well, oh, you're logs to lumber. I said, no, we're log to lumber. We mill one log at a time.
Good to know. And then your social media. What are your social media handles?
Well, the other thing that helps me a lot is Google. So I'm on Google, and like I tell everyone, it's free to get a Google profile.
Yeah.
And I have 146 5-star reviews.
Great.
And so in the algorithm, that pushes me way up there, which unfortunately hurts me too, because I get phone calls from trucking companies all the time. Hey, I'd like to talk to your shipping manager. I said, you're talking to the CEO. You're talking to the CEO. I don't ship anything. Please take me off your list. Or Cintas will call me. Hey, we just wanted to know if you need uniform clean. Yeah. I'm like, my foreman and I have our own t-shirts. We wash our own shirts. So thank you.
So this is the part
but then Instagram, I have been getting business from that.
Okay.
I just went over 58,000 followers, which boggles my mind. Right. And what people really like is when we cut these jigs, when we cut the logs and we're using our jigs, you always have some haters that, oh, I could do that fast for freehand. I'm like, okay, come on, let's race.
And what's your Instagram?
We make that, it's log to lumber. Log to lumber.
Log singular.
And then
to lumber. Got it.
Yep. And then I like to preach positivity. So I'll use like the one that just went over 10 million views is Tom Brady talking about, get out of the boat, go catch the fish, or like Nick Saban saying, about what the importance of nothing is. When you wake up in the morning, no one owes you nothing. So,
Yeah.
like Steve and I talked about this 3 years ago. If you want to be a successful business owner, you got to go get it.
Yeah.
And no one's going to hand you anything. I mean, there's ups and downs, as you know. I mean, like I tell people all the time, they come to my land, they're like, "Where's all your buildings and shops?" I'm like, "Listen, I either have all the money in the world and no time, or I have no time and no money. That's how it works." I try to keep it even keeled though.
What's something that the wood that either myself or the woodpreneur community could help you with? Is there anything you're struggling with right now that maybe we could brainstorm and come up with a solution for, or what's going on with that?
So, I've gone down the path of not knowing anything about sawmilling or wood to, I think I'm almost at 3 million board feet.
Congratulations.
And I know a lot about wood.
Yeah.
Thanks. I mean, that's a lot of sawdust all over me. But
Van
I know, I know, yeah, people glitter.
Yeah, people.
Let's coin people glitter. So, but I think I posted on the Woodmiser official Facebook page a couple years ago. Why doesn't Woodmiser have like a master sawyer course? And Craig Quilter and I have been talking about like what about a sawmill jamboree? Like you could have them in different regions. Well, I don't want to have to drive all the way across the country, but I mean, you could have one. The New York guys could come down to PA, and the North Carolina guys could come up to PA. Marty and those guys are great. I mean, I didn't go to the PA.
Were you at the open house on Saturday, the owner's day at Marty's place? And for those of you who are listening,
No,
Marty.
I was too busy.
Okay. Marty manages Woodmiser of Pennsylvania. So that you hear a lot of references to Marty. That's who Marty is. So, all right.
Yeah, Marty Parsons. They're great people too.
Marty and Lee.
But yeah. And my main mechanic, Andrew Noel. So he actually has he's like Marty's protege. He's 21 and he has a log lumber t-shirt. It says Andrew, aka Log of Lumber lead mechanic.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Luckily I've learned a little bit about my Super 40, but when there's big problems, I have Marty's cell phone, I have Andrew's cell phone, I could call them.
Great.
And they're great because they know I make a living with the sawmill, and that was another reason to go with Woodmiser.
My family went out shopping for a sawmill in the 90s, my dad and I, and brothers and even a brother-in-law. We came home with a Woodmiser because of the customer service. Like Caterpillar, you own cats, they're known for their customer service, and that's, that was the reason that we joined them. And we are hopefully giving that same customer service that we received back now in our new role.
There you go.
So,
but I mean, there should be a way for a guy like Corey Lechner, the guy from PA that, volunteered to come down. And my whole thing is, ever since the Army, knowledge is the only power if you share it. And I heard a lot of grumbling on the Woodmiser official Facebook page about these old guys. Well, I got 30 years experience, so someone with 3 years is going to take this class and be a master sawyer. I'm like, teach the class them.
And yeah, exactly. Yeah, we got no time for that. So, well, Brendan, we are running out of time right now. What is 30 seconds or less? What is one thing that you would like the listeners to know about whatever you pick the subject? What is one thing you would really like them to take away from today?
I've talked to a lot of people that wanted to get in the portable sawmill or become a sawyer of sorts. Look at your region, find out what's lacking, and find your niche. And yep, and then you don't have to be good at it at first, because you're not going to be.
The community is so welcoming. I mean, there's some negative Nancys out there, but for the most part, the community is so welcoming and will educate you, and we are so sharing.
And you got to just keep your head down. And my oldest son said this many, many years ago, and I'll say this, and it's true. I worked for myself for a little over 3.5 years. I would have to have nothing else to sell before I ever work for someone else. If you love what you do, you'll never work another day in your life. And I think in those last 7 years, since I've been in the sawmilling, I maybe worked 2 days. One day was 106 and everything was going wrong. And the other day I had the worst customer I've ever had. Luckily, I can read my customers when they call, and I can get it. But also, if you're going to get into sawmilling, educate customers.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what you're talking about.
No,
And
they need that. So
make it easy for them.
the best product that you possibly can. So I think we could sum it up with love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life. And people glitter.
Yep.
There are 2 summaries. So
People glitter.
yeah.
I like it.
Well, thank you, Brendan, so much for being on the Woodpreneur podcast with the new era of the Wood.
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, of course. Of course. And if you want to find out more, Brendan, one more time on your website.
www.log2lumberva.com.
Got it. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you. We'll talk to you again.